clicking around. Hey, Bixby. Cool. Always glad when I at least know somebody's in here, because otherwise it's just like the void. Welcome. Hello, hello. Hey, Dreamer. I saw that you were going to try to make it. It's good to see you. I'm sorry that I think it was a video game that was going to potentially keep you away. Hello, Jack, Jack, Jack. Is this your first time, Jack, 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 or is this triple threat from the Triple J? I don't fucking know. That was really, really silly. Hey, Potato Shoes. Hello, hello, hello. So good to see you. Hi. Oh, we have computer nerds here, which is great for the things that I'm going to talk about. Because, yeah. Huh. That Tumblr update, huh? Kit Kat's now welcome. So, yeah. I figure while things are getting started, while people are like filtering, I need to make the post on Tumblr that I'm live, which I always forget to do. And this time I remembered to take a screenshot before the stream so that you all don't have to watch me make very stupid faces at the screen. Just pretending that I was talking to people in an empty room with a chat that's very obviously completely silent in this screenshot, but it's okay. Someday I'll figure out a better way of doing this. Okay. Reblogging that now. Okay. So now I can come back to OBS and Chatterino. So hello. I'm so glad that you have made a Twitch account to chat. I do really, really appreciate that. I hope someday I'm not gonna like require people to have an account to chat. I actually don't know if you can chat on Twitch at all without an account, but I am glad that you thought it was worthwhile to do so, or at the very least there were things you were screaming at your screen that made you want to create an account. One of the things that I did want to touch on, like again, while people are filtering in and I'm making the go live announcement and everything like that, is the VOD channel. This also touches on the title, if it sucks, hit the bricks kind of thing. I'm not going to quit doing the VODs. Like, I do want to do this. I have tried to export the second VOD 4 times, and it has failed because I'm trying to do so on a computer that is really not meant for any kind of significant video editing. And even if I'm not doing significant editing, it is a 4-hour video that is like relatively high quality, and I'm gonna go crazy if I continue to try to export that as a single 4-hour video. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to make separate videos from the subjects that we talked about that day, and then maybe I'll make like 3 chapters. But after that, what I'm going to do, because that's the last one that I've got downloaded on this computer, is I am going to make sure that my Linux machine for working on like video editing is up, because that computer actually has a graphics card with 8 gigs of RAM on it. So I think it's going to do a better job of video rendering. So, and yeah, it's my computer is a sad little baby. It's on onboard graphics, and I think I've got 24 gigs of RAM, which isn't awful, but it's not a ton either. So, thank you, Foldmore, for the Prime subscription. Okay, I'm going to say this, and I hate saying things like this. This is okay. I hate so much asking for any kind of money or subscription. Part of the reason I went with Twitch as the streaming platform of choice is because if you have a Prime subscription, you can use 1 free subscription a month to subscribe to somebody. And I know that there are people out there who have Prime but maybe don't have money to spare on a subscription or something like that. So I went with this. So if you think this is something worthwhile to put the Prime subscription toward, I would appreciate it, feel no obligation to do so, and I definitely don't want people, I don't want to encourage people to sign up for Prime, but just saying that, thank you so much for the subscription. I do really, really appreciate it. So, and yeah, it is one of the, oh, thank you for the sparkles. And I do appreciate it. Thank you. It is, I sort of got told today that my ass is on the line at work. And so it's just one of those, and the person who told me this is somebody whose job I care about more than mine. So I was like, I'm going to try to make sure your ass is not on the line. And he was like, okay, but your ass is on the line too. And I'm like, yeah, but but I hate it here. So I really would like to kind of try to get out of there eventually. And if I can build some kind of career where I don't have to do that and could like do, sounds ridiculous to say that I'm a 40-year-old and I'm going to become a streamer this year. Like, you know, it's a ridiculous thing to say, but you know, I apparently people like it when I talk about stuff, and I'm really grateful that people like it when I talk about stuff. So thank you for the subscriptions. I do appreciate it. It's very overwhelming to deal with. Yeah. Hi, I love you all. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So, but yeah. Oh yeah. So the way that it works is if you connect Twitch to your Amazon Prime subscription. If you have a Prime subscription, it will allow you once a month to subscribe to the creator of your choice. It won't allow the subscription to persist, but if you renew on the same date every month, eventually what it lets you do is like as you stay subscribed to people for like various lengths of time, there are different badges, and I'll be creating badges, but there are different badges that will be, you know, so like a 1 month subscriber, you get 1 month, and then like the longer the subscription goes, you get like veteran badges and things. And this is like essentially the only thing that I'm willing to paywall because it's so silly, because I don't want to paywall anything that I make that might be useful for people to have. So it's yeah. Because that's like a fun participation trophy thing, but it's not something. So there's yeah, I have some, yeah, yeah. I got my ADHD meds today for the first time in 2 weeks, so I've been trying to get it. Yeah. So okay, the software specifically for streaming. The thing that everybody recommends and that I have found so far has been absolutely wonderful is it's OBS, and that's Open Something Studio. It's fantastic. It's an open source software, which, yeah, I always love open source software. It works great with Twitch. It's very intuitive. There are even extra special things you can do with it that are not intuitive, but it seems like the streaming space actually has a lot of like really cool open source stuff. So, but yeah, it's, oh yeah, there we go. Open Broadcast Studio. That makes sense. So, but I've really enjoyed poking around at it. I need to do more poking around at it, but it is. Thank you, thank you also for the subscription. I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah, sorry, but yeah, I do like there are plenty of people who are like kind of in the. I mean, I guess I'm officially middle aged. I'm gonna be 40 this year. I'm not quite 40 yet, so I get to continue to hold that over large bastard's head. But because he's like 8 years older than me. But like there are quite a few people who are like older millennial or Gen X on Twitch and streaming, and I do think it's a good thing. And it's just like much like Tumblr is a better platform for me than Twitter because it allows long form content. I'm pretty sure that Twitch is going to be a better platform than like TikTok or something, because I like providing sources and lots of explanations and things like that. So, but yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, there's a KitKats now, the closed captions. There is a plugin or an extension that I can get actually directly from Twitch that I will probably be using that. If anybody knows of a closed captioning plugin specifically that they recommend, I am down to try it. I do also know I frequently talk fast enough that like closed captions have trouble keeping up with me, but we can tweak that and see what we can do for it. So, but yeah, no, I will. One of the things that I did find frustrating about trying to like learn Twitch in the first place, Potato, you said that when you're on your computer, there are too many fun things to do. Like one of the things that it's like, the very first time that I actually used OBS was like the very first time that I went live. I didn't really know how to test it anywhere other than like literally just being live. So, you know, it is definitely one of those things where like I mess around best with it when there's an actual demand to like get on stream. So, Pixel Chat is good for subtitles. That's good. So, Oh, yeah, and yeah, don't absolutely nobody feel obligated to do anything. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I'm gonna try to not be a miserable pit every time people do something nice for me. Thank you. I do appreciate it, and I'm just bad at it. Yeah, I'm bad at accepting nice things being done for me. So thank you. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna try to get better at that. So, but yeah, many things. One of the things. So this is kind of related to the Tumblr stuff, kind of related to other stuff, and kind of related to the stuff that I want to be doing moving forward. Is basically, yeah, can I do it tomorrow? That's tomorrow me always has more problems than current me, which is always good for current me and never good for tomorrow me. um, so, but yeah, I'll adjust, and I still, will try to, yeah, to people doing subs and bits and things. Thank you. It's nice. I appreciate it. Sorry. But okay, I'm gonna stop apologizing for it too. But so I talked about it a little bit on Saturday, or maybe I'm actually not 100% sure when I talked about it, but I know I talked a little bit about databases. And the more time since I've thought about databases, the more I've realized that I just didn't have the vocabulary of databases, and I've been creating databases my entire life without knowing how to do so, which is just very standard for the kinds of things that I do. Like it's a little ridiculous that I have fallen. The words are hard, and specifically the phrase that like was the key that unlocked the thing in my brain was relatedness. I had articulated that concept to people, but I didn't know that relatedness was the word that like specifically is used in discussions of databases, and I'm sure there are other terms for it too. I've started taking just a couple of like online courses about databases, but like I ended up talking to my therapist the other day. But like, okay, so when I did the research into this is insane. When I did the research into the disingenuous disinformation Tumblr blogs, that was all exceptionally manual. All of that was me scrolling through and like transcribing portions of posts and manually copying links and like putting them together in like the kludgiest Excel spreadsheets that you have ever seen, some of which I screenshotted and I know are still visible in screenshots on some of those the posts that I made about it. And it's all information that would have been a lot easier to put together in a database by like just doing like a data scrape, and would have been a lot easier to analyze in a database. But I wasn't aware of those concepts and like how it would fit together. So like I made one up accidentally. And while I was talking to my therapist about it yesterday, I realized that literally that was exactly the same kind of thing I was trying to do with the master's thesis that I wanted to write on Philip K. Dick, which was going to be about the unique way that he handles like very traditional symbols, because he does have a unique way of handling very traditional symbols and like doing weird things with them. And I had like charted out and started making a database of symbols where it was just like, okay, writing things in like very specific descriptions and like the page numbers that it was appearing in different books and different categories and things like that. And I think I mentioned it on Saturday, but I'm gonna say it again because it was wanting to like I want to draw the way that I was trying to do this before I understood what these things were. And now that I understand what these things are, I'm already registered for like a database concepts class at the community college I go to, and the community college I go to has a database management certificate program that is like only 28 units or 24 units or something like that. It's 7 classes, so I'm going to be doing that. I'm really excited about it. They're having me start to do some like working on database concepts at work. And basically at this point, I think my goal with work is to like stay there long enough to get good at doing that other stuff and then leave. It's a really odd feeling because it feels like something that I never dug into because it was like, this also overlaps with some of the news stuff that I'm going to talk about, but like being dyslexic and specifically dealing with dyscalculia, and the fact that I was so bad at math and so bad at numbers made anything science related or math related or computer science related seem like it was completely unattainable for me, because there was nothing presenting that to me in like my, you know, that period of my education when I was trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do, that made any of that seem approachable. And I think that part of that may have just been the era, because part of it is the way that classes were taught at the time. Part of it was like a more minimal understanding of like dyslexia, dyscalculia, and how those like went on. And part of that was like that, you know, I was going to school in the early 2000s. Computers were different. But it feels very weird to be like getting in, you know, it's like, cool, I'm going to become a database scientist or like a database programmer and a streamer in my 40s. Great. It's always got to have at least a couple plates spinning, right? But the thing about that is that in addition to like realizing that I had sat down and like created a bunch of like very silly databases or like things that should have been databases or things that were like clawing at the concept of it, there have also been several things, thank you, Banana. There have also been several things that I have wanted to do that, you know, now that I have a hammer, everything looks like a database. I'm aware, I'm aware that it's a little silly, but like one of the things that I wanted to do years ago that I had basically no way of doing was I wanted to make an app that would be basically a really easy way for like homeless people to access resources. Just like, cool, plug in your location and here are the verified things and services within your area if you have access to this. And I wanted to make it available as like a browser app as well as, so if you were in a library or something like that, that you could access that information. And that information is out there, and it is something that's possible to organize. I just had no idea how to do it. And now I know how to do it. Now I know how to do it, kinda. Like, I still have to get the data. It's obviously going to be difficult to do that, but it's like just knowing that that's a possible concept is something that I'm really interested in. And like I was doing the other day, I've done this so many times and not realized it was what I was doing. So when I was looking at the information about the murder rates among the unhoused in LA last week on Tumblr, that was actually similar to a lot of the breakdowns I've done on like school shootings and things like that. And that's other data that I've been like, hey, cool, let me look at like the FBI, you know, crime victimization statistics every year and go through and da-da-da. And it's like, as it turns out, that's like a deep data set that exists that is very accessible and would be the kind of thing that like I think you could actually feasibly build something that would allow people to like interact with this in such a way that they might be able to gain a better understanding of crime. And that's the stuff that I don't want to paywall. That's the stuff that I want to be able to make and make public. That's the stuff that I'm like hoping to turn into like something that I A, care about, and B, can survive by doing, but I don't ever want to charge people for accessing that kind of information. So again, thank you everybody for the subscriptions. Thank you for coming to hang out on the stream. Thank you for going through this journey of discovering myself with me. I do appreciate it. So one of the, I have this Kit Kats now saying that if you can choose your ID, some of them can change how you allow the syntax to be highlighted. One of my issues, some people who have followed me for a long time may have remembered when I was in the algebra class that I was taking online. Which, hey, yes, I'm very, very yes. And I think I could potentially get the job to pay to train me to do this. So I will say, as much as I dislike the CEO, or I don't dislike the CEO, as much as I dislike the company, the CEO actually has a really good attitude, especially for MSPs, which is, no, this should be nobody's permanent career. You should want to get another job. This should not be the place where people land long term. And if it's where people land long term, it's because they can't get a job other places, which, you know, there's maybe some truth to that. But, you know, he's like, I expect us to have turnover in lower tier techs because the lower tier techs should be learning to be higher tier techs and either getting hired someplace else to make more money working as somebody's IT team internally, or moving up within our company, or getting hired away from us. Like, that's the goal, is for people to continually be learning and training. We should expect turnover. That's a thing that happens in MSPs for specifically that reason, which is very different than a lot of the attitudes that other people have. And it's like, okay, there are things that I disagree with you about, but I do respect that. That is a good attitude to have. So, yeah, and it is. So they've offered to pay for training for things, and it's basically like if you take a course, if you complete a certificate or something like that, if you complete it, they pay for it after you've completed it, and they'll pay for all the materials and everything. So it's like, hey, I found a certificate, and you want me working on your database. So we'll see what happens with that. And they're willing to provide access to software and equipment and things like that if I end up deciding to like put together a server, which I'm just like, yeah, none of us want me to have our important data on the server at my house. It's just not a good idea. So, yeah, it's an interesting place that I'm in right now. But yeah, so speaking of news and dyslexia, I would definitely trust me a lot more than a lot of my coworkers on some of this shit too. But I'm getting annoyed at Trump and Gavin Newsom, which should surprise absolutely no one. Gavin Newsom, I don't know how much anybody knows about this. I profoundly dislike him, but he is. Thank you. I do. Fingers crossed. I do appreciate that. Yes, and he is a fucking dipshit. Okay, so this is part of why I'm annoyed with him. Gavin Newsom is dyslexic, and he's very open and very vocal about being dyslexic. And you know what? There's something about that I do appreciate. It is good that people who like are in public life who have disabilities like talk about that and everything like that, but he does inspiration porn on it, and I fucking hate it. So however, I also hate what Trump is doing here with we have a low IQ person, he's got a disability, that's not good to be president. And it's like, look, man, if anybody is disqualified to be president because of mental issues, it's not Gavin Newsom in this conversation. You're both disqualified. Nobody should be president. I hate fucking everything. Yeah. Yeah, he's dyslexic and also a fucking asshole. If you've got more info about losing your job as a result of him being unfriendly to disabled workers, I would really like to see that, because he is hitting so fucking hard on this, I overcame my disability thing. The thing that he keeps saying is dyslexia is a superpower. Dyslexia is a superpower, which as a dyslexic person, I fucking hate hearing. So his memoir recently came out, and he's been doing a press tour about it. And in his memoir, he called dyslexia a superpower, or I guess in one of the interviews, basically he's like, I can't read things well, so I have to like study them differently. And hey, I basically never use teleprompters because I can't use them, so I have to like give speeches that are actual speeches. And it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for you to like dox yourself. You could have sent that as a whisper instead of a chat. Do you want me to delete that? But yeah, I do, I'm going to copy the link and save it to myself for later, because I'm going to dig into that, because I do want to write up how much I hate fucking Gavin Newsom. Anything I can do to write up how much I fucking hate Gavin Newsom, I'm going to do. I've had to work harder behind the scenes. It turned out to be a blessing, and in politics, a huge blessing. To every kid with a learning disability, don't let anyone, even the President of the United States, bully you. Dyslexia isn't a weakness, it's your strength. No, it's fucking not. Like, that makes me insane. And one of the things that's been very frustrating about watching all of this is that there's been very little pushback from mainstream media about this kind of thing. It's just sort of a, look how charming he is, look at the way he overcame this, that, or the other struggle. And look, obviously he has dealt with shit in his life. Like, everybody's dealt with shit in their life. Donald fucking Trump, who is a dipshit and a horrible person, has dealt with shit in his life. People deal with shit. The world's hard. I hate this for it, because here's the other thing. Gavin Newsom's been really successful with dyslexia. There are tons of people who aren't. And it's still not their fault. Like, it's nobody's fault. And it's not that, he worked harder or he overcame or whatever. Like, I'm very lucky that it seems like his dyslexia is more profound than mine is. Maybe I'm more dysnumerate than he is. Maybe the dyscalculia is worse for me, because it is pretty fucking bad. Like, sorry, that's where I was going when talking about the algebra class. People who followed me at that time watched me take the algebra class, and there were multiple times where like I had to like post my study sheet and have people point out where I had written things down incorrectly, because I didn't know that I had skipped a variable or a number or a minus sign or something like that. And there were literal times that like I took a quiz and I tried to answer the question correctly, and I tried 3 or 4 times and just didn't get it. And then like large bastard would point out to me afterward, like, hey, here's where you missed this number. And it was like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and cry. I'm just going to sit down and cry. Because I it was so frustrating. And so that's the deal with the programming syntax, is frequently I have those issues. However, kind of in the annoying Gavin Newsom vein. If anybody was on the Linux stream, you heard me say, let's weaponize the dyslexia, because I'm really, really good at pattern recognition as a result of this, because the way that we trained me out of my dyslexia as a 6-year-old was by having me memorize the shapes of words from the dictionary, which is not the way you're supposed to do this, not the way that anybody recommends it, and probably led to some long-term issues, but means that I am really, really good at parsing differences, like small differences and things. So if I'm looking at code that I'm writing, it's very, very likely that I'm going to miss closing a bracket or a semicolon or something like that. If I am comparing lines of code, I'm going to be very quick to figure out what looks wrong. So, but it's bad. So, yeah, no, the Gavin Newsom's thing on homeless people is part of why I have a blood oath against him. Like that's basically the reason I hate him. I hate him for other reasons, but that's the big one. But yeah, no, the forcing you to memorize word shapes, and because my family is my family, this was done at like my sister and I had to go to a very specific private school for a while because my parents worked such late hours that it was like basically we needed a school we could be at it for 12 hours. So it was just like, yeah, 12 hours of looking at the dictionary. Like, so I'm lucky that I was able to kind of get around that, and that after basically memorizing the words that went with the pictures on the page, because I couldn't read the words, I couldn't even understand that they were words written down, at like 6 to basically immediately reading Lord of the Rings. And I'm lucky that clicked in my brain, but it doesn't for other people. It clearly didn't click in that way for Gavin Newsom. However, they responded to it. And, it's the same thing that makes me crazy when people talk about like autism as a superpower or ADHD as a superpower. It's inspiration porn, and it like ends up making people who don't get the benefits of it feel like shit because, oh, well, they were able to succeed with it. Why can't you? I hate that. I hate that so much. And I really hate that I haven't seen any critical media on this. So I'm planning on doing I really want to do like a go live with the actual website that I want to go along with this project. And there are a few things that I want to write up. I want to do a write up on the way that like Gavin Newsom is framing these things and the way that the media is approaching it. But yeah, it makes me crazy. Yeah, the mental health funding thing, I just fucking hate. Yeah, okay, cool. The Disability Rights California, I will look into that because, yeah. Yeah, the Open Dyslexic, so it's really, so at this point, I'm trying to figure out how like the dyslexia comes into play for me. Like, I sometimes use Open Dyslexia, I sometimes change fonts and things like that. I think I see it a lot more with like the one class that made me, like, other than algebra recently, the one class during my lit major that made me cry in college was History of Modern English. And it was because I had to learn the International Phonetic Alphabet, and I basically couldn't. Like, learning a new character set as an adult was like, it's the thing that I studied the most for in college, was like a single quiz where we had to use the IPA to write out English words. And it was, yeah. And it just sucked. And I've been trying to learn Japanese recently, and I'm just hitting a point where like everything is making me learn characters. And it's like, I can hear it. I'm very good with languages and grammars and things like that if I'm listening to it, but and that was also the deal with algebra, also the deal with calculus, also the deal with, this is the deal with music. I've tried for years to learn to read music and it doesn't work. And I end up memorizing entire pieces that I play and just like, yeah, that's everything that I can play is something that I have memorized the hand positions. And I don't even know what letters correspond to like what chords or notes or anything like that. I just know where the hand goes to make the music happen. So, but that's where it really is for me, is like I just cannot learn those. Like character sets are just bad, just really, really bad for me, even if I put a ton of effort into it. And again, the idea that that is also something that happens like with your native language, that like, you know, it's a nightmare. And I'm lucky that it's not as hard for me as it has been for like Gavin Newsom, who clearly struggled a lot with it in school. And I'm sure that some of this, you know, it's a superpower, is like an ego protection thing for him to be like, you know, I am okay. I'm not, you know, a horrible failure or whatever. You know, and which again, as somebody who's, and obviously I hate Gavin Newsom. The man's not stupid, but being not stupid and having a learning disability can make you feel really fucking stupid. And so, like, I'm sympathetic to that. I just fucking hate his framing. So, yeah. Yeah, and, like, the inability to read sheet music, like, especially if you put a lot of effort into it, really is one of the things that, like, if you end up looking up a bunch of research on, that dyslexia, dyscalculia, that may be related to dysgraphia, which is difficulty writing. And like they're all interrelated. There's a lot of overlap between them. Looking into it more, like it does exist. That one's harder, the music thing specifically, because what everybody says about it is, well, nobody can read music naturally. And it's like, well, nobody can read fucking anything naturally. You have to learn and practice it. It's hard for some people for like a lot of reasons. Actually, the one that I've also gotten into arguments with people on Tumblr about is reading clocks. I fucking hate reading clocks. I shouldn't have to read clocks. I don't have to read clocks. And I'm not an idiot because I can't read a fucking clock. I'm not a zoomer because I can't read a fucking clock. As it turns out, reading time in a circle is just annoying. Fuck them. Sorry. The way that I write music is I basically scat it. And or I do memorize it. Actually, the way that I like write bass lines and things like that is I would like I find the first note of what I want to play, and then I find the second note, and then I go back to the first and the second, and then I basically like play it out as a sequence until I figured out how I want it to sound, and then I either record it or I write it down with tabs. So when I did the Twin Peaks music box thing, which I was able to do that, but the way that I had to do that was I had to look at a play along of the Twin Peaks theme on piano and write down the notes that it was saying that they were playing, and then transpose those onto the 16 note scale for the music box. And then there's an online tool that will let you listen to it, and the notes weren't quite right, so I had to move them in the correct position. Like, I'm good at hearing things relatively, but I don't know, it's all a little weird. But yeah, it's it was really interesting, actually. So my bandmate, Danny, who was in the punk band, like the Siren song that I've played a couple times, that was originally called Bass Dirge, and it was Danny wrote all of the music for that, and then I just wrote the vocal line and the lyrics. But a lot of the time, what would happen is Danny would put together a song and like have a lot of it like put together, and then I was usually like defining the melody or harmonies or things like that, and then doing lyrics and filling that in. Sometimes, though, even like the vocal line, Danny was like scatting that out and everything. Some of our weirder songs that also ended up being some of the more popular ones were ones where I was like, okay, so let's sit down, and it should be like this, and it should be like this, and it should go da-da-da-da, and da-da-da. And Danny is an incredibly, incredibly talented multi-instrumentalist and composer who's like there have been like podcasts on the Nerdist Network that have had like Grammy nominated soundtracks that Danny wrote the soundtrack for. Like, Danny's an incredibly talented musician. And I'm so glad that they were able to help me out with some of that, because it's like, I would not have been able to sit down with a guitar and create like the there was a bunch of stuff where I just remember like we're sitting there writing the song like, no, it needs to be like this, and Danny's like, a key change there doesn't make sense. And I'm like, it does, you just need to finish it this way. But like I couldn't have told you what key it changed to. I couldn't have told you how to get from one key to the other. I just knew how it needed to sound. So but yeah, it's I don't really know how I write music. I just sort of do stuff and eventually I record it. So this is also very helpful because like I'm into drone music a lot. So it's like some of the stuff that I'm thinking about working on to like add to the stream and put videos up and things like that is very slow, dirgy, easy to play. If you've ever listened to the band Low, I'm being very inspired by Low recently. I like Low a lot. They're very, very good. They're a Minnesotan indie band where the singer unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. But they have a fantastic album called Things We Lost in the Fire, and one of the songs on it is a 9-minute song called Lullaby that's like, yeah, it just like falls apart very nicely. Yeah, anyway, so wanted to yell about Gavin Newsom. Then I've got a couple other news things that I don't know if people are interested in talking about at all, or if we want to let's just move on to talking about Tumblr for the moment, if that's cool, because I figure probably everybody's in here. It's been like 40 minutes. The dulcimer is rad. The idea that you learn to play on a dulcimer is kind of nuts. Like for the second instrument, that's an interesting step. So hi Sel, but yeah. So Tumblr. Let's talk about Tumblr. So again, we've got some computer nerds in the chat, and I'm not going to talk about this like super duper in depth. There is more stuff that I'm going to go into, probably do a write-up of, maybe make a post on with some of the data that I collected here. Like a drone instrument, like one that like uses the persistent, like what's the, like a hurdy-gurdy, or not a hurdy-gurdy, well, kinda, but yeah, so the pole, this fucking pole, bagpipe, definitely droney. I'm trying to, like, Sun O is a drone band. Like, a lot of the stuff that I listen to that's drone is stuff where it's, like, got a long sustain on normal instruments. So, like, a really long sustain on a very distorted bass. Like, you know, and just having that, like, play out forever, and then also kind of having, like, a... You know what also kind of counts as drone is like throat singing, but like having like a sort of doubled raspy singing over it. Yeah. But I'm trying to remember, there was a video that circulated on Tumblr a while back that was like a metal song being played on, like, I want to say it was a hurdy-gurdy or something like that. Yeah, because a hurdy-gurdy is the one that has the crank, and the reason it sounded so good was because the drone of the instrument was very similar to the distortion that you would have with a normal guitar. So that may have been your, actually, I think that was your post. Yeah, Spinny Forever Bow. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that was a great post. That was fantastic. And was it a TikTok that got shared or something? So, but yeah, just good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, when I'm having a lot of trouble focusing, there's an album that I listen to that I don't recommend to anybody, but it works great for me, and it is Merzbow's Pulse Demon, which is a harsh noise album that like basically sounds like, that sounds correct. It might have been Pantera. Dulcimer, not disclaimer. or what a disclaimer. I'm sorry, dyslexia. I thought you were responding to somebody saying that. But no, it's there was literally no volume at which I could play that in the office and have people not yell at me. Like, I could put my volume on my computer to the very, very lowest level, and people in like 3 different offices would be like, you need to turn that off. It's making me insane. So, but it basically is kind of like quasi-rhythmic, aggressive static with occasional jarring sounds. Yeah, I really like Merzbow, and for whatever reason, Pulse Demon just like hits the exact right wavelength in my brain that it's like the perfect background noise that drowns out everything else and makes me focus. Let's Let's go. Yeah, I will drop a link. No, I don't want to search my channel. I want to search all of YouTube. Sorry, I went to the studio so you all can see like my horrible like not quite uploads. And actually the cover of the album, it kind of looks the way that the album sounds. So this sort of trippy black and white thing. But let me see. Yeah, this is the entire album. So I'm going to copy the link and paste it in the chat. If you've never heard any music that makes you feel like an anxiety attack before, oh, I guess that's multiple chapters, so maybe that's a playlist. Okay, let's hear. This is the full album. If you've never heard an album that makes you feel like you have anxiety before, I recommend Mr. Bungle. I like Mr. Bungle a lot. Yeah, it's plenty of people listen to like streams and birds and nature sounds and things like that, and those make me tense and on edge. This is what I do instead of listening to like white noise. So yeah, it's not a recommend. I can't exactly recommend it, but it does wonderful things to my brain. But there's a reason I'm not playing it on stream right now, and it's because it would definitely, I know people who have had audio processing problems specifically as a result of like getting surprised with it. So I'm not going to play it, but man, I love it. That's not what I wanted to click on again, but back to Tumblr. Okay. So for the computer folks in the chat, I think I hope your spouse likes it. I think that and this is something that what's their handle? I don't remember, but I think that this update happened specifically as a result of Tumblr fixing the back end and then getting really excited about that and sharing the fact that they had fixed the back end with us by giving us an update that nobody fucking wanted. So like the way that Tumblr's awful shit works, like, everybody knows like the posts where it's like it's the 0-note post, or like, this poll goes on forever or whatever, and like the comments underneath are like, what does the back end of this website look like? I suspect that the multi-thread, I've just been calling it the Babel update. Like I think that is a result of them trying to show off a feature that they can do with a new kind of post sorting that would not have been. Yeah, I don't want to know what the back end looks like. I'm guessing very Lovecraftian might be a good word for it. The versions of the site that didn't actually do the update. So I had an unupdated copy of the app on my phone, and it was completely normal. It was completely normal, and I know that this was, like many Tumblr features, getting rolled out slowly. I happened to get hit with it relatively early, which is part of why I was able to do some of the research that I started doing. I noticed it pretty early in the morning yesterday, and that's when I started digging into it. I also do tend to, I've been on Tumblr long enough that I do get things early, and I'm also in their, the beta program, their labs program, the Tumblr labs program. So I do let them test stuff on my Tumblr or on my account, because I do want to see what happens. Like, that also meant that I got the reblogs graph early. The backend that Cthulhu built. Red Drag Diva, who is the one who did the book on cryptocurrency that I did the cover for, has a tag specifically for how Tumblr was made that is coded by dildo, as in it was coded by slapping the keyboard with a dildo repeatedly. That's what made Tumblr happen. Sounds pretty accurate to me. But yeah, older posts with the older style, things like that. The fact that you used to be able to change the text of other posts, I suspect that the way that Tumblr's architecture worked was absolutely incomprehensibly fucked. and that this update is a result of like a long ongoing attempt to fix that. Because like this is also something that's come up when people have been talking about tags that are blocked for various reasons. Like they prioritized unblocking certain tags, but they had to spend a lot longer on others because they were relatively low priority or relatively low interest. But fixing it kind of meant manually going back and unfucking things because of the way those sorts of things were sorted. So it sounds like it was just organically horrible. And one of the things, so this highlight, this reblog graph highlight of, you know, this was the original post, this is the first person who reblogged it, you reblogged it here, and then you reblogged it again here, or you double reblogged these, whatever this thick highlight means, is not something that was visible with previous updates. It was not something that was visible on the reblog map. And I remember going and trying to track down in the reblog graph before, like I would start with the core post, or I would start with like where I was in it and try to get my way back to the core post. It was hard to navigate your way around. I suspect the fact that they can now highlight this has a lot to do with the fact that they've done something that figures out where things are in relation to one another. Yeah, I got the full update on desktop. I know some people didn't get the full update on desktop. Basically, nobody who had an app that hadn't updated that day, I think, was dealing with it. There were a lot of people. I was dealing with some Tumblr reading comprehension and putting together like these posts and these tests and everything like that. There are quite a lot of people. You know, this 50 to 100 number is actually an overrepresentation of like that number, specifically because it was being answered by people who had an unupdated version of the app when there were 50 to 100 votes there. However, it's such a large number that it's obviously more than just the 50 people who would have seen it at that time, or the 50 bloggers who would have seen it at that time. But the interesting thing is that, given that there are 10,000 people who voted on this, 50% saying I'm using an unupdated version of the app totally makes sense. I'm not sure. It also totally makes sense. But, it's a tremendous misrepresentation to say that, like, okay, cool, 4.6% saw 11 reblogs. That's insane. That's crazy. So what I'm interested in doing is actually using the reblog graphs. There are a couple things I'm interested in here. So part of the reason that I was having people tag it with their various, apple, coconut, banana, Anna, or Alice, Bob, Carol, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, was because I wanted to see the way that it was moving. Go get the list of reblogs and like check the proportion of like how many people were getting the C chain, how many people were getting the A chain. And using that information, what I should be able to do combined with the reblog graph is I should be able to go in and look at the graph and, figure out like, okay, cool, the bigger starbursts and explosions and things like that. Like, was there one that was particularly like, there are lots of little starbursts. Are most of the starbursts coconut, or are most of the starbursts apple? Was there, obviously there are two big ones here. What caused that? So I want to dig into that because I think that that might explain more of what was done. And I don't know what was done. Again, none of us can have any idea of what the insides of Tumblr look like because they probably look absolutely incomprehensible to human eyes. If I'm not worried about generative AI unless the generative AI is being generated by whatever is growing inside the Tumblr servers. Like, it's a weird thing that's going on in the back end there, and I just don't 100% want to see it because it'll haunt me. But I'm also very glad. Like, one of the things that I do like about what happened here is I'm glad that sometimes yelling works. And I do actually think this is an instance of yelling working. And I know that people have talked about the fact that, for now, they're saying for now, Tumblr's obviously going to do something that, people hate further down. And again, I think this is maybe more than they really... Like, I don't think that they... First of all, I don't think they meant to roll out as much as they did. I think they meant to do more A/B testing, and the site's so fucked that they didn't realize how many people got hit with it as early as they did. Because that post, the these have their things now. We'll be rolling it out. Did not sound like it was something that was going to happen that hour, because I saw the effects of it within 20 minutes of first seeing the Tumblr post about it. I don't think they meant to get it out that early. I don't think they meant it to do quite as much as it did. I'm not sure they realized how much it did, and they definitely were not ready for how much the user base hated it. I mean, and maybe Gayer is one of the like kind of like vague rat sphere bloggers who I follow, who I like and respect a lot, and they had an interesting comment, which was, it seems like a lot of the changes and updates that Tumblr has made recently have been A/B testing to make sure that people are clicking as much as possible. And I don't know that that's conspiratorial, but I will say there might be something to that. Proof of engagement, because we are a site that is notoriously unengaged. That might actually be something that they are looking at. That I can kind of see. Potentially, but maybe something to trigger more ads or something, but I sort of doubt it. Again, I think they just sort of, for this update specifically, I think they really didn't realize how much people were going to hate the idea of Tumblr becoming quote retweets. I think we were both unengaged in terms of how people tend to interact with websites, and undermonetized. So we're notoriously really mad at the idea of people monetizing stuff and of putting ads on things and whatever. And we're also a fairly notoriously broke user base comparatively. But also, we have really odd norms in terms of like what things people will reblog, how frequently they'll reblog stuff. There has been some, I do think there's been less reblogging and more hesitancy in it. The replies are relatively thin on most posts that I see compared to what you might see on another site. I think they get that we're broke. I think they still think that can be monetized. Like, I think they understand that here's the other thing. We're broke, but in some ways we are more willing to spend money on a website. Like, look, I'm certainly more willing to spend money on Tumblr than I am to spend money on like Twitter Blue. And I think we have more users who are, well, I guess Twitter X, whatever the fuck, has enough dedicated users. I'm sorry, it's not dedicated users. It's Elon Dick writers. They have enough Elon Dick writers who are willing to pay for being an Elon Dick writer. I think there are enough people on Tumblr who use Tumblr as a like primary social media source that is also used as marketing, because that was actually something that was really interesting to me in terms of the people who were complaining about things, seeing I don't remember anybody's username. The skull that does tarot. Cryptotheism. But seeing Cryptotheism talk about the fact that this is, a platform that they use to do, and I don't know Cryptotheism's pronouns, but if anybody does, please let me know. But it's the primary social media of a lot of people who have like we have a pretty high number of like high use. Like, we have a lot of popular bloggers who are broadly known on the platform. Like, biggest, gaudiest. God used to be, Patronus's, but then changed Bogarts, maybe. I don't know, whatever the fuck they changed to. But that's somebody who's like widely known on the platform, basically not known off the platform. And even people who don't know that person tend to interact with their posts because of the way that posts travel and persist. So we have kind of an odd poltergeist. Thank you. And yeah, because CT is CT like that's CT Kelly from that's CT Kelly, right? So, and thank you. Yes, they them. I think they them is correct. But from Desperate Acts of Capitalism, I think. Thank you, Fold. Their presence on their podcast is popular because of Tumblr. It exists because of Tumblr, so the ability to interact with their audience is massive to them. Elodie Under Glass has a following on Tumblr. Joy has a following on Tumblr that allows her to promote her books. The Chuck Tingle being as successful as he is on Tumblr, like, is a big thing for him, but also, like, yeah, CT's podcast is Desperate Acts of Capitalism, which is about money something and how it all goes wrong. It's a breakdown of like various insane, like one of the episodes is about like Chuck E. Cheese, the history and finances of Chuck E. Cheese, and another is about the Rainforest Cafe and how a ton of money got dumped into that very early on, and it was just like very clearly unsustainable. It's an interesting podcast. Sometimes it doesn't go as in depth as I want to. Sometimes the technical stuff is not where I would want it to be. But it is a fun podcast. It definitely is. It definitely is. And it's CT and two other hosts. Initially, it was just one other host. They took a long hiatus for a couple of years. It's a great podcast, 100%. It's Desperate Acts of Capitalism. They update, I think, twice a month, something like that. And periodically have hiatuses. It's very, very good. And they have a back catalog of, I think, 40, 70 episodes, something like that. So, it's solid listen. And it's very weird to be listening to CT talk about stuff and be like, I know you from Tumblr. So it is a little weird being on Tumblr sometimes. But what I'm getting at with like the interaction, the way that we interact with posts, I think that compared to sites that have a lot of like rage bait engagement and that like have people algorithmically trapped, I think that's the deal. Is, if you look at Facebook, if you look at YouTube, if you look at Twitter or whatever, people spend a lot of time on those because they're looking for more information and it's constantly feeding them more information. Whereas with Tumblr, you hit the bottom of your dash, like you catch up to what you were doing last frequently. If you depending on how many people you follow, you know exactly when you're going to hit the end of it because it's chronological for the most part. Most people don't use the algorithm for it. And yeah, hitting the bottom of the dash is great. But I think that comparatively we do get fewer clicks because we don't have that same level of, somebody, answering a Facebook quiz or clicking on the next tweet or seeing who did what, because most people are just scrolling through their dash, maybe reblogging something and doing an effort post response or like adding on to a meme, but not bouncing from thing to thing to thing to thing. And I think they didn't realize how much people actually do that with the current note structure and how much people rely on that for being able to have conversations. I get obsessive about things. I used to make myself read to the bottom of my Tumblr dash every time, and then at one point in 2015, a band fandom that I was part of had a meltdown the same weekend that I was in a friend's wedding, and I was like heartbroken and like almost missed something important at the wedding because I was trying to get to the bottom of the dash to see what was going on with the fandom drama, and I was like, hey, this is no longer healthy. So I don't, much like video games, there are just certain things that I can't do. So I just can't make myself go to I can't. This is actually the reason that Tumblr is my primary social media, is because I couldn't turn that off on Twitter or Facebook or other sites. I needed to see what the people who I knew and was connected to had posted, and so I couldn't function in those environments. Also, not being able to add multiple links on a post would kill me. It would murder me dead on the street. Yeah, I'm. Thankfully, I've been able to tone that down specifically on Tumblr, and I just basically don't go on the other sites anymore. I tried Instagram for a while. Same deal. Just also way more intrusive with the ads than Tumblr is. Even before getting the ad free. But I do think that because we have less of that, people clicking around to find things in the algorithm, less people like desperately searching for the things that their friends posted, and that people will hit a defined end period. I think that may be what they're trying to do with a lot of the clicking additional stuff. I hate the UI or UX change with the multiple buttons for reblog now, or whatever. Like, that sucks. That's really fucking annoying. And I think it's supposed to make things easier because I think their assumption is that people mostly reblog without adding anything, but it's like, I also talked about it last time or maybe the time before on the stream where they changed it so that, like, when you're scrolling through on mobile if you hit reblog and you want to go to a side blog, there used to be an option to do so that would allow you to scroll through multiple side blogs. Now it only shows you, like, the top 13, which I'm guessing is because probably a vanishingly small percentage of people on Tumblr have more than 13 side blogs, but I have 58. So that means that mobile is not working for me for my side blogs anymore, which is really, really frustrating to me. But yeah, I'm aware that that's not a problem. That no, thankfully it's better than the top 3. The top 13, like, and again, the number of people on Tumblr who have more than 13 blogs is probably, like, probably under 500. maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, just had a little Twitch thing with a wiggly icon to make you click. Yeah, there's everybody wants clicks, and so I know on Twitch specifically sometimes they'll do that because they want to see engaged users versus passive users, because I listen to Twitch all day on my phone with the screen turned off and essentially never interacting until something gets angry enough that I need to add to the chat. But they want to see, like, how many people are in chat versus how many people are listening passively, how many of the people who are in chat are actually chatting. So yeah, that's the deal. Yeah. Yeah, I am Blogs George. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who has more blogs on Tumblr than I have. Though again, also, if anybody is seeing ads on this Twitch, please let me know. I've tried to set it up in such a way that I don't have to do any kind of, like, pre-roll or, like, mid-post or mid-podcast or mid-stream ads or anything like that. But I do have it set up so that there's, like, the bar at the bottom that theoretically shows ads. I don't know that it will because I have this tagged as, like, mature topics and things like that. I don't know that people are going to be wanting to advertise on this. I hope they won't. I am bad to market with. Don't put your advertisements on my stream. I'm going to yell about how much I hate Gavin Newsom and how much I want to bleep, 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 bleep Gavin Newsom. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the things that I want to happen to Gavin Newsom. You can't marry 2 Republicans and be somebody I'm going to fucking vote for president. Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry, Network Graph? What about it? Is it giving you the video? Oh, I mean, I know I've got the network graph up. I'm asking, do you have a question about it? Or what? I forgot. Maybe I'm not caught up on. Oh, that's right, because it does want you to do channel points and do a little bouncy thing. Okay. Yeah. Dream with refugee, or sorry, LiveJournal refugee. LiveJournal refugees unite. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, I don't talk about crimes online, so this will not become the specific threats against named individuals stream, but it might become the implied threats against general individuals stream. Ants happening. Ants in his kitchen forever. That would be good for Gavin Newsom. Yeah, what was it? Oh, I realized I'm gonna have to create a separate blog for the Tumblr of Babel day. I do that. Like I have a blog that's specifically about the porn ban and reactions to the porn ban. I have a blog that's specifically about COVID-19 memes. I have a blog that's specifically about the 2020 protests, where it's like sometimes I simply use them as an archive, where it's like, let me just go and um, 59 and counting. Nice. Uh, awesome. I'm so glad I'm not the only one. um, but yeah, I'm probably going to end up having to make a blog about this just again to document it, because there were specific memes that like went with specific things about it, and I do think it's worthwhile to have those little kind of archives up, even though I don't talk about them very much. Uh, yeah, poor bees. The bees don't deserve Gavin Newsom, even if Gavin Newsom deserves bees.